Hotepu Gatekeepers, today we cover a topic that has been lost in the annals of history about the Kemetic understanding of the planets. And in this video, I won't go into the history of how old Kemetic astronomy and astrology actually are. For now, we'll discuss how they saw the planets. So we have here on this first page here, on page 701 of Sir Wallace Budge's Dictionary of Hieroglyphs, on page 701, this first column is called column A, this is called column B, and we have here, if we move down, the word Seshed. That T with a dot is a D sound. Seshed, which it says here means a planet. A planet. Okay? And so this is one of the words used in this dictionary to describe our understanding of planet. So let's take a moment to look at the African Kemetic view of what a planet was. To do that, the entire knowledge and wisdom of Kemet is in its language. When I was initiated in Africa as a Babalawo, a high priest, and an Oba, or a king, I was taught by the men there that in order to understand anything of African spirituality, you must understand the language. You must return to the language. So if we look here at words that look like each other, are written like each other, they are clues. It's very traditional African wordplay, where they would give you a clue about one meaning by making it sound like or look like another word with a different meaning. Okay, so we're going to start here with the word Sesheta, which sounds like Seshed. You hear they sound similar. Seshed, Sesheta. So because they are homonyms, it's a clue to look at all the words that are similar to the word of our study. So Sesheta, which means to hide, to make a secret, the mystery, confidential. Sesheta, mystery or secret. Seshed, to mount, to ascend, to roll up, to revolve. Seshed, to make a horse prance about, to perform feats of horsemanship, to circuit like a star. Seshed, the orbit of the sun, a light circle. Then Seshed, a planet, comet, or shooting star. Seshed, spelled this way, means to decorate, to put on a garland. It also means to tie, to bind, to tie around, to gird. Here it means similar words of bandage and bandlet, string cord, of a book, girdle, belt, turban, diadem, tiara. Down here again, crown or diadem. Festival of the bandlet or crown. List, document, inventory. Whip, or veranda, window, opening in a wall, balcony, or porch. Now, and one more here. Seshed, a niche in a wall. So from here, Sesheta, which is 701 line, column A, to column B, Seshed, a niche in a wall, all these words sound alike. Therefore, they're like pieces of a puzzle where each word tells you more about the other ones. So, very quickly, let's see what we can discover just from the homonym play of these words about what they knew about planets. Number one, the planets like to hide. This is true. During the sun, daylight hours, the planets hide. The planets have secrets, meaning in your astrology chart, it's a secret that the planets you're seeing way up there, thousands and thousands of miles from us, have a secret connection within us to make a mystery of something. That the rocks in the sky seem to have some kind of fractal, sympathetic magic effect and connection to us. To make confidential that the secrets of your destiny are confidentially written in the motions of the stars. Again, mystery or secret. That the stars or the planets contain mysteries and secrets of destiny. To mount, to ascend, to roll up, to revolve. This is clear astronomy now. That the planets move. Unlike the fixed stars, the planets move, they ascend, they rise, they roll up, they revolve. This shows that we understood that planets not only spin on their own axes, but they revolve or roll around or mount around the sun. It took whites until whatever his name was, Copernicus, to figure this out. We knew they were round. How else could it roll? Then the word says shed, to make a horse prance about. So here we see that the planets again are moving in some kind of orderly fashion. When a horse prances, it's controlled, like in a parade or in an army procession. It's a controlled motion. It's directed. So it's implying here that the planets move in an orderly, precessional, like a parade procession manner, and that in order for you to make a horse prance properly, you have to control its reins. That's a very subtle and very slick genius of the Africans, the gay shamans of Kemet, about linking planets to horses. Let's take a minute on that one. When you ride a horse, you have to have reins. It doesn't mention reins, but it's implied. So when you have reins, what's happening? You're having a triangulation. So you have the horse biting the bit, chomping on the bit. That's one point. Then you have two reins that form a triangle from the bit in the horse's mouth, where one part of the rein is in your left hand, one's in your right hand. So you're seeing a triangle, a triangulation. And it's how you pull, how you make the angle between your hands wider or narrower, how you change that from an equilateral triangle shape to isosceles, how you shape that triangle determines the direction the horse will go in. So what we're seeing here in a very clever genius of the gay shamans of Kemet, they're describing what's called aspects, meaning the angular relationships between points in the sky. And in astrology, aspects are like conjunctions, oppositions, squares, quincunxes, sextiles. Those are basically the angles between the planets, or how Ra, basically, or how we on the Earth, more precisely, are seeing the angles of the reins between us, the planets, and the Earth. Very clever. Then it says to perform feats of horsemanship, to circuit like a star. So this is telling you that you want to watch the parade of the horses of the sky because they have secrets. Remember the word sesheta meant secret. And you want to look at the secret angles between the horses, the formations they make in the sky, like squares and oppositions, and try to unpack the meaning, the secret meaning of those angles of a square. If two planets are squaring, that's one energy. If they're opposing, it's a different manifestation. If they're trining, it's a whole different kind of energy. So we understood this idea of aspects and angles. Then it says to shed the orbit of the sun, meaning ecliptic. But it also means the line of the planets along the ecliptic, that each planet leaves a kind of trail very close to the sun. The ecliptic refers to the belt in the sky whose center line is the sun's orbit that is approximately 18 degrees wide. It's a belt that's 18 degrees wide. So a planet can go 9 degrees above the sun's line, central line of this belt or 9 degrees below. Most planets stay very close to the middle line of the sun. They go about 2 to 7. Let's see, Khonsu, the moon, goes about 7 degrees, about 5 degrees from Ra's line. Sebek, Mercury, about 7. But the planets, the outer planets, can go very far, like Bennu, Pluto, can go about close to 18 degrees deviance from the ground zero central line of the sun. So we're seeing that each planet makes its own light circle, meaning its ecliptical trail. Then Sesher here means a planet, a shooting star, or comet. Now here it means to decorate, to put on a garland. Well, to decorate links this to jewelry. This is a very profound understanding and specifically African, specifically Kemetic. Jewelry that you wear. You see this glyph here is like a piece of string for making your jewelry. That the jewelry you wear, the ornamentations you wear, are meant to be capacitators, sources that hold the charge of the light circles. That your jewelry should reflect the transits of your particular chart. If you're running a funny Harukapet Saturn in your chart, you're running a funny transit or funny cycle, then you want to wear the gems and jewelry of Saturn. And you do prayers and rituals over those beads, over those earrings. And you pack inside of that earring or that bead, that necklace, the prayers and the rituals and the voodoos of Saturn, saying, please don't give me the bad karma to such a horrible degree. Be easy on me. So you wear that necklace to help you either mitigate a negative planetary transit in your chart or to amplify a good one. And in the Golden Beetle, our gay shamans are very strict. I've run a very strict and tight ship in this department. You cannot just wear jewelry because it looks pretty. Jewelry emits energies like light circles. They emit energy or light. And the wrong jewel on you can bring you not too bad damage, but it can obstruct your life. And the perfect gem can bring you such luck. That's why you always see royals wearing fine gems. This is a very ancient tradition from Kemet, shown here. The same word for planet is the same word for decorate. So you should be wearing your chart as your jewelry. Then this word seshed means to tie, bind, to tie around, to gird on. Meaning, you are bound to your planetary karmas. You are bound, your chart binds you. The karmas in your chart bind you. You are attached to them. You can't separate from your birth chart and its karmas, as revealed through a Kemetic gay interpretation. There are some traditions of astrology that are terrible, awful. We are very strict here about that because it's people's lives. It's your destiny. It's not a joke. It's your soul we're reading. So we've taken great effort to make sure the mathematics of our gay shamanic charts are dead on. That's why people are so astounded by our accuracy of prediction. So you are bound to your chart. Karma binds us all. Then says shed here, the same idea of a bandage or string. But it says a cord of a book. Now we're linking this to a book. Meaning your chart, your stars, are your book written by the hand of Anchora, of the Supreme Androgynous Being Almighty. You are bound to the book of the lights in the sky written for you at your birth date. Then it says a girdle. Girdle here implies a belt, which means breathing mechanism. The breathing should be deep. This implies a link actually between astrology and yoga. that your breathing and your yoga should be tied to your transits. What most white people do with yoga, and white people are not terribly, spirituality is not their speciality. White people are masters of machines, not things of the spirit. When white people and white culture starts to leave their place of machinery, then they start bringing all kinds of strange, bizarre, and deranged concepts. Leave spirituality to the people of color. No one has everything. No one can do everything. We all need each other, and each race or group of people on the earth have a speciality. And white people are the masters of machines. Leave spirituality to the black people, the Native American people. So when these white people are doing, and the black folks that follow that lack of wisdom, yoga doesn't work properly unless you time it. You must do certain yogas. That's why it's called yoga, to link, to yoke, to bind, to tie. The word in Sanskrit, yoga, means to yoke, to connect. You must do yogas that are congruent to your chart. You can't just do any yoga any time and expect full effects. When you're running a certain sun karma, you should do more what's called Surya yogas, sun yogas, like sun salutation and such. When you're running moon karmas, you do more moon karmas, more moon yogas, I should say. Then it links it with diadem and tiara and turban. We go from belt, which is down at the waist, where you breathe during yogas for your chart, to turban, diadem, tiara. This is implying that the stars affect your mind. They affect your head. They affect your thinking. You see? That you wear them on your head, meaning as a thought pattern. When you're running, let's say, a Bennu Pluto conjunct Bennu Venus, you're going to have certain thoughts about relationships, maybe dark ones, maybe very intense ones, maybe you're very passionate. So these planets affect your mind. Then we have here again crown diadem. And look at this one very carefully. This shows a headband with a cobra on it and a tie in the back, telling you that the stars wrap around your mind and affect your pineal gland. That's why the cobra is shown here. This little tiny, it may be hard to see, this little tiny cobra. That the pineal gland is receptive, and the pituitary centers are very receptive and sensitive to light. When you close your eyes or the sun sets and it's dark, you produce more hormones like melatonin to make you go to sleep or to go within. So it's saying that because the stars come out at night, you see them at night, their starlight affects your pineal pituitary centers of awareness, and that you should try to become enlightened. Crown chakra. Crown chakra means the chakra level of enlightenment. You should become enlightened about the starlight coming into your pineal pituitary from your chart or from the sky. Then it says the festival of the bandlet or crown. This means you should celebrate your chart. You should celebrate your planets. You should make a big to-do about it. When you're having the god Ra conjunct the god Khonsu or something in your chart, the sun and moon, give them a party. Make them food offerings. Have the statues and put perfumes on these statues and garlands of flowers. We saw that the word sachet meant garland. Drape them in flower wreaths. Drape them in oils. Give them foods they like. Worship them. Give them a party. Yes? Festival time. Celebrate your karmas to lift them up. The word sachet also means list, document, or inventory. Clearly a link to karma. That your life is already documented, it's already written in the hands of heaven, and it keeps an inventory of your karmas, of your good and bad karmas. Then the word seshed means whip, meaning Karma is going to whoop your behind. Karma is going to discipline you. Your chart is going to whip you and read you and tell you like it is. Then we have here the word seshedet, which means veranda, window opening in a wall, or a niche in a wall. These are referred to observation towers. Basically, you've seen many of the Kemetic temples are aligned to certain stars. The Giza pyramids had these shafts that were aligned to certain stars, Orion, Sirius, etc. So it's talking about observing the sky, observing the heavens from an observation point. Observation tower, a high point, a lookout, or a niche in a wall, which you find in many of the Olmec, meaning African Aztec, African Mayan, I should say, buildings in the South Americas. In South America, there's a lot of these niches in the walls. That comes from their initiations by the blacks of Kemet, of the South Americans, into astronomy and sacred architecture and astrology. So, I want to spend the first part of this, because this video marks the beginning of a future presentation, a full blast presentation on gay Kemetic astronomy and astrology, where I'm going to break down our words for things, our words for astronomer and astrology and planet and star and ecliptic and culmination. All these words exist in Kemet. And how we look at planets and how we use the planets to help the nation, to help gay men around the world to improve their intelligence, their genius, and their good luck. And we see here that the word planet linked to a movement of beings in the sky, lights in the sky that make orbit circulations that contain secret information, and that these planets spin and revolve, and they are controlled like horses by aspects, and that you are bound to their motions karmically and spiritually, and their lights influence your mind. How you think is a great function of how your transits are rolling at that time, and that your whole life is written as a document in the skies, and that karma will whoop your behind, and that you should keep a lookout for your transits. You should keep a lookout on the veranda of observation towers and keeping your eye on your own inner sky. Fantastic genius hidden in such clever ways. Now, I just mentioned that the planets are used to help the gay community, the Golden Beetle Brotherhood around the world, to increase their intelligence. Because planets in our system represent, as I have here, talents. Talents. So let's be very clear. Our gay Kemetic astrology and astronomy is very precise. The word for astronomy is also the word ma'ah. Some call it ma'at. The word ma'ah means to see. Ma'ah also means truth, order, and it also means temple. So temples were sites where you would watch the sky's order, to find out your own destiny's truth. So our system is very orderly. Here's the basic foundation meaning. Planets always mean talents. Signs always mean needs or longings. Houses always mean manifestations. So a planet is your talent for something. A sign is your need or your longing for something. And a house is the results in your life. The actual people, places, things, and events of your life are the houses. And they're all interwoven because the planets have, as we saw here, threads. They're interwoven. You can't read just one planet. They're interwoven, they're interconnected. They are a system. They are a fractal. So the 9 planetary gods of your talents, you have 9 basic talents. Not 50,000, not 1, not 4, but 9. An enlightened gay man has 9 geniuses, 9 talents. And the white people of Greece stole this and called it their 9 muses. But the Greeks had no astronomy or astrology before they went to Alexandria, before they met the Egyptians in Africa. There was no astronomy in Greece, and all of a sudden, after they come to Africa, especially pilfering books from Alexandria, we have this so-called explosion of so-called Greek genius. Well, it's strangely timed, wouldn't you say? So the whites didn't have anything with this science until they met the Africans. And they stole it because the whites couldn't create it, so they steal. And they call it the 9 muses. White people are very famous for taking from Africa, adding a ribbon here and a bow there, and calling it something brand new, and selling it back to Africans. That's not going to work here. This is African, and the 9 muses come from the Nile Valley. Now, here we have the images of the Egyptian planet gods. Forgive the angle, I got this from online, and this is the way it's the only image of its sort, so I had to take what I could get my hands on here. And here we have the planet gods shown in Kemet. This is box number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 6, 7, and then this vulture makes 8, this cobra makes 9. So that's why we have 9 planetary gods, the 9 muses of Africa. Let's take a look at this. Since we know from our dictionary here what these planets do, and they bind us to karma, and they affect our thoughts, and they have secrets of life, let's zoom in like a fractal into them, each more in detail. So the number 1 box here is shown as Benu Osar, known as Venus among white astrology. But we don't call it Venus. We call it Benu Osar. It's shown as a 2-headed planet. Fascinating, because the word Benu means phoenix, like the phoenix bird of resurrection. Osar means your divine good DNA. The good DNA in your bloodline is called Osar. So Benu Osar, resurrector of the divine in your DNA. Now when you hear the planet Venus by white people, you hear them say, well, it's love and romance and sex. That's secondarily true. But you need to go back to your source Greek astrologers and those who stole from Africa. You need to go back to your parents, Africa. Because the real meaning of Benu Osar and of Venus, quote unquote, is to resurrect the divinity in your DNA. Now, DNA makes what? Children. So there's the sexual link. But you see, the white cultures have devolved it down to a more or less material, thingish definition of this planet. But in Africa, the rituals to this star, Benu Osar, were to resurrect the divine in your ancestral lineage, including yourself and into your future. So the fertility rituals, the sex of Venus, was a very different understanding in Kemet. It was Tantra, where you use tantric occult, remember Seshed planet means secrets. You use occult sexual techniques to bring enlightenment to your DNA in your sperm or eggs in particular. So you must use sex, Tantra, to awaken the divine on a cellular DNA level. You see? Now, why is it shown as a 2-headed deity? Well, look, it's a hawk with a white crown and a man with a red crown. Okay? The hawk represents the white crown. The white crown deals a lot with the ancestral calendar, what's called the tropical motion of the sun. Not tropical astrology, but the seasons. It shows the seasons very carefully. And that the ancestors and the ancestral rituals followed the seasonal calendar of the solstice and equinoxes. At the winter solstice, they are judged. At the summer solstice, the gay ancestors return to the village. At the winter solstice, the gay ancestors go through the hall of purification and judgment. So that's what this is telling us. And the hawk means that the planet Bennual Venus is like Ra. It has a lot of energy. It's very fiery. The sexual energy is like a hawk, which is the symbol of the sun gods. It's very fiery, can be very aggressive. And it can purify you if you elevate it, or it can burn you with passion and lust and obsession if you're not balanced. So you want to have sex at certain times of the equinox solstice cycle. Then you have here a man with the red crown. This is the red crown of the papyrus, yes, of northern Egypt down by the swamps. The red crown shows a bee's tongue coming out of this red crown. Okay? The red crown shows a human, meaning there are not many biological functions that we can consciously control. Of the two autonomous biological functions, we can only control two of them at will. One is our breathing. Humans are able to control their breathing any way they want to. And our sexual impulse. We are able to be in heat and not act on it. All other animals, when they're in heat, when they have to mate, they're going to mate, no matter what. But humans have the power to think and use reason and thought to either mate or not mate. Because the bee tongue here in the red crown deals with energy and passion. It also deals with activity, because bees are builders. Bees are very busy as a bee. So when you develop your tantric energy, what's called in Taoist system Jing or Tantra energy, your sexual energy is elevated towards energizing your good DNA. You wear the red crown. The planet Venus, Bennual gives you the red crown because you chose to not give in to just the bestial side of sex, which can be a lot of fun in balance, but you chose to use the sexual energy to raise your mind. When you do, we teach the gay men Tantra, Golden Beetle Tantra. And what you do is when you're aroused, you lift that sexual erotica energy within you up the back of your spine and you spin it in your head, clockwise 9 times. It forms a kind of honey, and the honey drips down the front line of your body, of your trunk, your third eye, your trunk, your throat, down to your navel. And when you pull up this energy, this snake of erotica up, instead of ejaculating, you injaculate, meaning you have an inner orgasm. You pull that orgasmic juice and fun inward up the back of the spine, you spin it in the crown like a turban within, and you let the honey drip down the front. You become very intelligent. You become really creative. And you become really mentally busy like a bee. Your mind goes everywhere. You become a real Einstein, a real Imhotep, a real genius. That's what this is talking about. When you raise the sexual energy to awakening the good DNA, it stimulates mental clarity, creative genius. This planet is the way for black gay men to get out of being on the bottom of the totem pole, feeling no one's hearing us, feeling second-class citizens, by pulling up this sexual energy into the brain to make the brain busy as a bee. we will start inventing things, organizing things, leading things, commanding things, becoming masters of empire and industry very easily. You see? The other part of the meaning of the duality of these planets is you got to be careful, because sex can make you great or undo you quickly. So this conversation on the planet quote-unquote Venus, you've heard nowhere, because it's not found in the white astrology, and many of the Hindu astrologers are really Aryan astrology overlaid through a violence and aggression of the Aryan invasion of the black Indians of southern India, the Dalits, the Dravidians. And the Dravidians knew this because they were actually Indus Kush. Kush means Ethiopians. These were Ethiopians. Ethiopia, India, particularly South India, was part of Ethiopia. And Ethiopia was part of Kemet. You see? So the white Aryans invaded the South Blacks of India, established an apartheid system called the caste system, and then attacked all the African wise people called the Rishis, who went to the forest and then eventually wrote around 872, I believe, the Upanishads, the book of the black South Indian sorcerers and astronomers and mystics. So what we are calling Hindu astrology is really Aryanized, or the Vedic Aryan astrology, stolen from the blacks and raped, actually, to suit white people's way of thinking. So that's why they've lost this, because white people have no understanding of sexuality. Do not ask white culture about sex. Look at their culture. Their marriages are just falling apart, and it's not a human thing. It's a white thing. It doesn't happen in traditional Africa, traditional Native America, traditional Aborigines of Australia. They don't have these marriage problems. It's a white thing. Okay? So, then we have the second category here, Sepku. Mercury. Yes? This is shown as a man. A young one. Meaning the planet Mercury, or Sepku, favors, well, all these are male, by the way, but it favors like the way young men think. Very left brain, very Cartesian, very isolationist thinking, very sequential. So thinking belongs to, specifically, it's the only fully human figure of all the planets. Thinking is the province of humans. But the word Sebku, Seb means earthly, materialistic. Earth means external. So this is the intellectual mind. This is the clever mind. You see? This is not intelligence, it's cleverness. It is syllogistic logic. And humans are very good at this. But the word Seb also implies materialistic. It can only do well on external things. It's not very good at thinking deeply and abstractly. Do not go to Sebku for great philosophy. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. And he likes to work on only what he can see physically. That's why the word Seb means the material world. This clearly is the white man's star, one of them. The white man loves Sebku. He loves material things. He loves external thinking and thinking based upon what he can see and ignores what he can't see and measure. This star belongs to him more than any other group, but all people have it, but some people specialize in it. So this is the human star, but it's shown as a young man, a rather young, vital man, meaning it's not the mature level of the mind, it's just the kind of youthful level. Then we have this star, Heru Desher, Mars, meaning Heru. The word Heru means that which roars above. The word Har or Her means above, and Ru means lion or to roar. Ru. So Haru. Haru actually means astronomer. The word Her, above. It's the one who looks at what's above. I've heard people say it means the will, the free will, blah, blah. I don't go by that. I go by what the glyphs tell me. And the word Her means above. It also means a leader or a chief. So what makes you a leader is the one who knows what's going on in heaven. So Heru means the the one who watches that which is above, desher means red. Where the word desert came from desher or dejer in Rinkam Egyptian. This is Heru Desher, the red one above. That's Mars, the red planet, shown also as a hawk, meaning this is an aggressive predatorial energy. It's hot, it's fiery, it's aggressive, it's very kinetic, it's very yang. Okay? Then we have the number 4 square here, or rectangle, Heru Kapet, Saturn, meaning Heru means that which is above, Ka means bull, or soul, or ancestor, and Pet means heaven. So it means the ancestral bull or the ancestral soul above in the sky. Heru Kapet means Saturn, which is the god of time. Don't ancestors remind you of time? Back in the old days when Grandpa did this? So this star is linking us to the ancestors and the preservation of the culture of those who went before you in time. That's why Saturn is called the chronometer, the keeper of time. Yes? Then we have Heru Aptawi, also called Heru Apshetatawi, which means that the above opener of the two lands. Or the above, Heru Ap means to judge, to measure, to reckon, to calculate. The two lands. So the one up there who calculates dualities, the two lands, dualities. The one up there who calculates how what up there reckons and reconciles with what's down here on Earth. Meaning what happens in the sky affects us on Earth. It was this planet, Tehuti Aptawi, who really saw the connection of the measures of the sky, because Ap means to measure or reckon, and how they affect life on Earth. He's shown here as a hawk-headed man, sometimes as an ibis-headed man, in this context, with the crown of the ibis god. This crown is a very complex message. I won't go into it right now, but it deals a lot with certain brain centers. The pineal pituitary brain centers and the corpus callosum. These two feathers that flank it are the corpus callosum. Yes, and the optic nerve here. These two wavy horns refer to optic nerves. And these cobras on top of the optic nerve horn correspond to deep perception, intuitive perception, optic nerves seeing intuitively. And also this horn, this wavy horn, corresponds to what's called spin and torsion in the universe, or torque, Coriolis effect, and spirals, the Fibonacci spirals that he's aware of. There's a lot to this, but I won't go into it right now. Okay, so here we have a hawk or an ibis-headed man, but the hawk implies being watchful. Yes, that this is again a hot, aggressive energy that likes to look at how things interrelate in a system. Okay, then we have, of course, Ra the sun, which is a star. It's not a planet, but we're going to call it one of the lights. We have Khonsu the moon, which is also not a star. It is a planetoid, basically. It's a moon. And then we have two non-physical points called the lunar north and south nodes. Nekabu is the north node of the moon, and Wacha is the south node of the moon. This is called the eye of the moon, the lunar eye, and its two nodes. All a node means, imagine you have two hula hoops, and you tilt, you make one level, you're holding it, right? And you make one level, and you tilt the other one. So it resembles like the shape of electrons in an atom. So you have one plane that's horizontal and one plane that's tilted. Then you grab the 2 points where these planes cross, where X marks the spot, where these two hula hoops cross each other, are called nodes. The word node means a knot. Recall that planet also meant string, tying, binding. It implies a knotting. Yes? So where these, so planets knot, because the word planet has the word tying or threads in it. So where the moon is one hula hoop that deviates, and let's call the sun's line, the sun's circle that it makes in the sky is the level hula hoop, and the moon's hula hoop is tilted about 5 degrees deviation from level. 5 degrees above the sun's hoop and 5 degrees below. Where the two cross is called the nodes of the moon, the knot, where the two orbits knot each other. And when the moon is going northbound, meaning above the sun's hula hoop, that knot from level to the north is called the northern node, owned by the vulture Nekabu. Some call it Nekabet. We call it Nekabu. When the moon's hula hoop crosses the sun's point going southbound, going downward beneath the sun's hula hoop of horizontal, that downward knot, that knot that leads us downward, is called the southern or south-going node, owned by the cobra. Okay? So, the world has lost this understanding of planets from the gatekeeper gay shamans of the Nile Valley of Kemet. And I, as a gay gatekeeper, bring it back. And I shall revive the Kemetic understanding of the sky. I have corrected the calendars of Kemet. The mathematics brought them back so that our astrology predicts exactly what's happening in a person's karma, because you are tied and bound to your karma. And the book is already written in the strings and luminous threads called the orbital motions and paths of the starry beings of the sky. And we shall eventually be doing online rituals to these 9 gods, these 9 star gods. We shall sing to them, we shall bathe them in oils and herbs, and fragrance and garlands, and feed them food and milk and honey, and pray for gay men's karmas, their talents to grow, that we can get better karmas in our houses. In order for you to make your life grow spiritually, you must do yoga and rituals according to the transits and conditions of your star charts. I can't emphasize that enough. This has been so lost since the days of Amun-Ra. But we bring it back, and we begin to lift the gay community, the brotherhood of the golden beetle, by having them awaken the divine principles in the planets. These clearly are not rocks. They're not shown as rocks. These are archetypal symbols of the spirits in those rocks. We don't worship, as astrologers, rocks. Although rocks are very powerful, minerals are very powerful gods. They have a lot of energy. We're made of minerals, zinc and calcium and such. But this is showing our understanding as black gay people of the spirits in those rocks and how we're tied to them, how we're knotted to them. So, we will begin in very short time the offerings, the rituals, the prayers, and the discussions of their behaviors. These planetary gods go through things in heaven. When certain planets rise in the morning before Ra, they're called Heliacal rising. That means they're resurrecting from the dead. When these planets follow Ra in the back of Ra's boat at sunset, is called a chronicle setting. The star is about to die. The star is about to go through a ritual of mummification. So if your planets in your chart are resurrecting or about to be mummified, that means something very specific in your life. So we're going to discuss the adventures of these stars in their journey through the sky, and how their adventures are going to bind themselves to your crown chakra, to your diadem, to your mind and to your karmas. So may you prance about like a horse with the orbit of your light circles of the sky, and may we all welcome back, as a gay community, the return of the gatekeeper's science of the gates of the starry firmaments. Dwawend Hotepu.